We are engaged and planning our wedding. The venue and honeymoon are booked, and we are just fine-tuning the details. Things have been good, but he definitely needs help with how to communicate when he's angry. He has been honest with his past, although he waited 7 months to tell me this, and told me he has cheated on his 2 exes because they fought a lot. He made it seem like he would not repeat that mistake again, and that it's much different when you're engaged or married. He also told me he cried when his ex found out because she was so nice and didn't deserve it. Because of that, he has ironic trust issues and goes through my phone while I'm sleeping. I've caught him a few times and told him to just ask me. I will not say no to him if he wants to see something. Fast forward to literally just now. I have his laptop at my house. Curiosity got the best of me, and I went through his contacts and emails. His contacts weren't up to date on iCloud, but he did have 3 escort numbers saved. Yes, I Googled them. The names they were saved under were basic corn star names. That annoyed me, but I dismissed it. The main problem is I just looked at his sent box in his email. Not even really sure why, but I guess I'm glad I did. In October of 2023, while we were still engaged, he emailed an escort girl and requested a meeting, asking for her availability and pricing and what the next steps are. I checked my photos from that weekend and saw I was out of town, visiting my family. I also emailed that escort girl myself to see if it was a valid email, and I immediately got an automatic response back with a link to the escort girl's booking page, Instagram, OnlyFans, and Pornhub sites. He deleted the automatic response from his inbox. There's no way for me to know if he went through with it that time, or any time before or after. I go out of town to visit my family once a month. However, I did fly back from visiting my family the very next day, so chances are he didn't go through with it, but it still bothers me that he even tried. I actually feel like I'm in shock. At first, my heart was racing, but now I just feel like I'm in denial. Like I didn't just see that, and I'm automatically making excuses for him, assuming it was a mistake and he would never try to do that again. I am so confused and have no idea how to confront him. He actually has plans to come over tonight, and I don't want to bring it up in person because I don't want to give him the chance to make excuses for this email. I don't want it to be "I'm so sorry, it was a bad judgment call. I promise I will never do that again," but I genuinely do not know how to bring it up. If I text him and say, "Please, leave me alone for a bit. I need some time to myself," I'm afraid he will just come over and force us to talk. We also have each other's locations, which is wild because truly that does not keep someone from cheating if they want to. Please give me advice on how to bring this up and if you think this is justifiable to end our engagement. Thank you. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. He's been honest with his past, although he waited 7 months to tell me this, and told me he's cheated on his 2 exes because they fought a lot. He made it seem like he would not repeat that mistake again, and that it's much different when you're engaged or married. He also told me he cried when his ex found out because she was so nice and didn't deserve it. Because of that, he has ironic trust issues and goes through my phone while I'm sleeping. I've caught him a few times, just reread this part like 100 times. Comment 2. If you value your life, end it now, get an STD test, full panel, and run. This will not end. You are not obligated to keep his secrets. Tell whoever you need to that will hold you accountable to ending your relationship. There is a clear pattern of discard. Hear it in the "I cheated because we fought" excuses. He is telling you clear as day that he feels justified in discarding and cheating. He is doing it to you and has already narrated his character. Don't ignore what he is telling you. Now for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around after my last post. I've got an update, and it's been a wild couple of weeks. So we were in the thick of wedding planning, right? The venue was set, honeymoon booked, and we were just ironing out the little details. Things seemed to be going smoothly, but I guess that's how it always looks before the storm hits. Remember how I mentioned my fiancé's past with cheating and his ironic trust issues? Well, it turns out those issues run deeper than I thought. He's been trying to work on his communication when he's angry, but it's been a struggle. We've had a few blow-ups, and each time, It's like walking on eggshells trying to get him to talk it out. Now, let's rewind to the heartbreak. I had his laptop, and driven by a gut feeling, I snooped. I found those escort contacts and that email he sent while I was out of town. I was floored. I mean, we've had our ups and downs, but this, it felt like a punch to the gut. I've been trying to piece together our history, looking for signs I might have missed. He's always been the jealous type, checking my phone and all, but I never thought he'd be the one to stray. It's like all those times he cried over his exes, saying he learned his lesson, were just an act. After finding that email, I was a mess. I didn't want to confront him in person because I knew he'd have some excuse ready. So I texted him, asking for space, but he didn't take the hint. He showed up at my place, ready to talk it out. The confrontation was intense. He walked in, all apologies and excuses, saying it was a one-time mistake, that he didn't go through with it. But how could I believe him? The trust was shattered. I kept thinking about all the times I was out of town, and it made me sick to my stomach. We argued for hours. He tried to convince me it was just cold feet, that he was scared of commitment, but that didn't add up. We've been through so much, and he's always been the one pushing for this wedding, talking about how much he wanted to marry me. In the midst of our fight, I remembered something from his past. He once told me about a time he got caught in a lie with an ex, and how he spun this elaborate story to get out of it. It was like déjà vu, watching him try to weave his way out of this situation. The days that followed were a blur. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My friends and family were worried, but I didn't know how to explain the chaos that had become my life. I had to cancel appointments with vendors, put a hold on the wedding plans, and try to figure out where to go from here. It's been 2 weeks since that night, and I've had a lot of time to think. I've gone over every moment of our relationship, trying to understand how we got here. It's like I'm seeing everything through a new lens, questioning every sweet gesture and every late night he said he was working. I've been avoiding most of our mutual friends because I know they'll have questions I'm not ready to answer. The few I've confided in are just as shocked as I am. They saw us as the perfect couple, and now that image is shattered. I've been staying with my sister, trying to get my head straight. She's been my rock through all of this, reminding me of who I am and what I deserve. It's hard, though, because part of me still loves him, still wants to believe he's the man I thought he was. But then I think about those escort numbers, the email, and the lies. It's like every memory is tainted now. I can't look at our engagement photos without feeling a sting of betrayal. He's been blowing up my phone, sending flowers, begging for forgiveness, but I don't know if I can ever trust him again. It's not just about the potential cheating, it's about the lies, the disrespect, and the broken trust. I haven't made any decisions yet. I'm still processing, still trying to figure out if this is something we can come back from, or if it's the end of the road for us. It's the hardest thing I've ever had to do, and I'm just taking it one day at a time. I told my friend to stop teasing me about what my aunt said, but she didn't listen, so I left and gave her the key to my aunt's house. My boyfriend stayed with her for an hour and a half. I'm worried and anxious. So here it goes. One night I, 23-year-old female, was hanging out with my friend, 23-year-old female, and my boyfriend, 23-year-old male. We were walking, my boyfriend and I were holding hands, and my friend and I were talking. She suddenly said, "Your aunt told me something about you, but I'm not going to tell you. Ha ha." Well, I hate that, and she knows I hate it when people do that. I replied, "Please don't do that. You know I don't like it when people say they have something to tell me, and then they don't, especially if it's about my aunt." She kind of laughed at me and said, "You're so sensitive. Are you sure you're going to be able to handle it? Are you sure? Are you sure? You're so sensitive you can't handle anything." I was kind of shocked at the way she spoke to me. I said I was feeling uncomfortable, and I asked her to stop. She didn't. My boyfriend wasn't aware of what was happening. That's what he told me. It felt like it was too much, so without a second thought, I gave her the key to my aunt's house. We were all staying there, and I left. As I was walking, trying to calm myself down, feeling like I was about to cry, I realized he stayed there. I kept on walking to my aunt's house. She had to open the door for me. as I left my friend the keys. They came back 1 hour and 30 minutes later. That 1 hour and 30 minutes was suffocating. I was feeling very worried and anxious. I remember my chest hurting. When I heard them enter the house, before he opened the door of the room we were sleeping in, she told him, "Are you sure you want to go in there? Are you prepared for war? I think it's better you sleep on the sofa tonight. Don't bother going there." Hopefully he didn't do that and came in. He asked me if I was okay. I said yes, and you? He proceeds to hurt me even more. He said, "I'm kind of mad at you. I didn't think you could be so immature. What you did was selfish and manipulative." I was in shock again, but I thought, yeah, I was kind of immature for leaving like that. I shouldn't have done that. But selfish and manipulative? Why? I asked him why. He said, "Because you wanted us to follow you, right? That's manipulative." I replied, "I didn't want you and her following me. I had a fight with her. The least I wanted is to keep arguing with her. I wanted you to be with me. You didn't listen to the way she spoke to me." He said he heard none of it, that when he turned his head, I was already leaving. So what did they do for that 1 hour and 30 minutes? They went to the park, they had a talk, and then they went for drinks. I talked to my friend via text when they arrived, and she said something that still bothers me. "It's a shame you behaved so immaturely. We had a great time together." Was I immature, selfish, and manipulative? I know I should have stayed, but shouldn't he have come with me instead of staying with her? Then they started to follow each other on Instagram. Am I crazy for feeling insecure about it? Am I being jealous for no reason? Thank you so much in advance. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. My boyfriend would for sure follow me regardless of the reason I walked away. And if he didn't, I can for sure say he wouldn't go to a park and drink with her while I was off someplace he wasn't aware of. It is incredibly weird that he would go with her instead of you, and just based off your post, I get vibes that he may like your friend. And instead of asking what's wrong, he immediately says it was manipulation. Sounds like the friend was planting those seedlings in his head while they were together. I'd be careful around her. She seems like a snake. Comment 2. 2 things. This woman is not your friend. Friends don't treat each other like that. Second, I don't think this is the first time you've tried to be manipulative like this, and it sounds like your boyfriend isn't going to tolerate it any longer. Now for the update. Hey everyone. A lot has happened since my last post, and I just had to come back to update you all. After that night, things got even more complicated. My boyfriend and I had a long talk about what happened. He admitted that he should have been more aware of my feelings, and that he didn't realize how his actions could have hurt me. He apologized for calling me manipulative and selfish, and I could tell he meant it. But that wasn't the end of it. The next day, my friend sent me a message that made my heart drop. She said she had feelings for my boyfriend and that she thought he might feel the same way. I couldn't believe it. My mind was racing and I felt betrayed. I confronted my boyfriend about it, and he was just as shocked as I was. He assured me that he didn't have feelings for her and that he loved me. But then he dropped a bombshell. He told me that during their time at the park, my friend had tried to kiss him. He pushed her away and told her it wasn't right, but he hadn't mentioned it to me because he didn't want to upset me further. I was torn between feeling relieved that he didn't reciprocate her feelings and angry that he kept it from me. We decided that we needed to set some boundaries with my friend. We agreed that he would stop following her on Instagram and that we would both take a step back from hanging out with her until things cooled down. It was a tough decision, but it felt like the right thing to do for our relationship. Meanwhile, my aunt, who had been out of town, came back and noticed the tension in the house. She's always been like a second mother to me, and she could tell something was off. I ended up spilling everything to her, and she gave me some advice that really helped me see things more clearly. She reminded me of the time when I was younger and had a falling out with a friend over a misunderstanding. She told me how important it was to communicate and not let jealousy cloud my judgment. Taking her advice to heart, I decided to have a heart-to-heart with my friend. It was one of the hardest conversations I've ever had. I told her how her actions had hurt me and that while I valued our friendship, I couldn't just brush off what she did. She broke down and apologized, saying she let her feelings get the best of her and that she never meant to come between my boyfriend and me. We reached a compromise. She agreed to give us some space and work on her own feelings. She also promised that she would never do anything like that again. It was a bittersweet resolution, but it felt like a step in the right direction. As for my boyfriend and me, we're working on rebuilding the trust that was shaken that night. He's been more attentive and open with me, and I've been trying to work through my feelings of jealousy and insecurity. It's not easy, but we're getting there, one day at a time. Fiancé lives in another country and friend keeps criticizing him, but then she reveals she caught her BF cheating. Oh boy, I was so right about my man. Yeah, this isn't my best moment and I'm very embarrassed. My friend and her boyfriend are a match made in hell. From what she told me, he is verbally hurtful, nasty. He mentioned cheating on her during her birthday. He always screams at her. She thinks a lot of women from her job want to be with him, and he manipulated her into having unprotected intimacy and made her believe that birth control isn't a good option, that it will ruin her fertility in the future. The guy is horrible, and I have no idea why she's even with him. I feel like the constant issues she has with him are draining our friendship. It seems they are doing really well now, as she keeps reminding me all the time that the relationship is going so well. I have been hearing they are doing well for the longest time. So basically, my fiancé and I are doing temporary long distance due to the K1 fiancé visa. It won't be a long time, maybe a year max. My fiancé and I are in constant contact. We talk a lot on the phone, text, and FaceTime. I must say, as hard as this situation is, he really does it all to make me feel comfortable and secure in our relationship, even when being long distant. Last night, he texted me when my friend and I were out. So I texted him back and my friend commented that she thinks he's clingy. I think she's a bit jealous because she always complains that her boyfriend is dry at texting. She then went on to tell me that she could never be with my boyfriend because he's clingy, and that she likes being the clingy one in the relationship. She also said that my fiancé doesn't have a masculine build like her boyfriend. She then proceeded to say that he's too soft and feminine in appearance, while her boyfriend is built like a real man. I was beyond pissed. I was livid. My fiancé is Korean, and I have heard in the past that people compared Asian men to looking feminine. My fiancé has a military build, and he was a Marine in Korea. When I met his dad's friend in Korea, he even told me that a small percentage of men become Marines, and that my fiancé was a part of that small percentage of men. I told my friend, "Are you aware that he was in the Marines?" And I told her about the small percentage of men that become Marines, and that my fiancé is a part of that percentage of people. I then added on by saying, "From what I've seen, your boyfriend seems to be chubby, but you don't see me criticizing his appearance and saying my fiancé is physically more of a man?" She went pretty quiet and said, "You're right. But I'm so upset over her criticizing my fiancé and claiming her boyfriend is physically more of a man. I'm not proud of what I said about her boyfriend. I don't know if I should apologize or was I right by putting her in her place." Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Reading between the lines, your friend is in an hurtful relationship and is busy taking part in gaslighting themselves that this is a good thing. Rather than reassuring yourself about the clapback, give some consideration to checking in on your friend. No, an hurtful relationship is not an excuse to rag on your friends, but you might want to consider what's most important to you in this situation. Comment 2. I think your fiancé will be proud of you. Being a Marine, he surely must like that you fought fire with fire, especially in his defense. You did well. You are an independent woman, not a punching bag, and you showed your friend this, rightly so. Now for the update, a lot has happened since my last post, and honestly, I'm still trying to process it all. After the confrontation with my friend about our significant others, things took a turn I didn't expect. The next day, I woke up to a text from her apologizing for the comments she made about my fiancé. She admitted she was out of line and that her own insecurities about her relationship were spilling over. I appreciated the apology, but it didn't erase the sting of her words. I decided to accept her apology, but also took some space to cool off. Meanwhile, my fiancé had been sending me supportive messages, completely unaware of the drama unfolding. He's always been the calm in my storm, and his comforting words helped me navigate my feelings. We talked about our future, about the home we'd build once the visa issues were sorted. It was a sweet distraction from the mess with my friend. But then, 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a message from her that made my heart drop. She'd caught her boyfriend cheating. It was one of those women from her job, the ones she always suspected wanted to be with him. She was devastated, and despite everything, I couldn't leave her to deal with it alone. I rushed over to her place where she was a mess of tears and anger. As she poured out her heart, I learned more about their relationship than I ever wanted to know. She confessed that the verbal abuse had escalated, and she'd been hiding bruises under her clothes. My blood boiled at the thought of someone hurting her like that. I urged her to leave him, to see that she deserved so much better. In the midst of her heartbreak, she admitted something that left me reeling. She'd always been envious of my relationship with my fiancé. She saw the love and respect we had for each other and wanted that for herself. Her comments about him being clingy were just a cover for her longing for someone who cared as much as he did. The next day, she took a brave step and ended things with her boyfriend. It was a jaw-dropping moment, watching her stand up for herself after so long. She moved out of the apartment they shared and crashed at my place while she figured things out. My fiancé was a rock during this time, offering to help in any way he could, even from afar. He sent her a message of support, which she received with a tearful smile. It was a side of him she'd never seen, and it seemed to shift her perspective on what a real man was. As for me, I was caught in a whirlwind of emotions. I was proud of my friend for leaving a toxic situation, but I was also heartbroken to see her in pain. It was a bittersweet realization that sometimes things have to fall apart to make way for better beginnings. And then, just when I thought things were settling down, my fiancé surprised me with news that he'd managed to expedite his visa process. He'd be coming to the States much sooner than we'd anticipated. It was a moment of pure joy, but it was tinged with the sadness of my friend's situation. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.